My name is Margaret Elise Whitfield. I am 68 years old. For nearly 5 decades, I was a wife, a mother, and the enduring spirit of Willowbrook Orchards, a small, organic apple farm nestled in the rolling hills of Pennsylvania. My hands, though stiff with arthritis, still recall the weight of dough beneath my palms as I shaped it into sourdough loaves. They still remember the crisp snap of pruning shears at dawn, working shoulder to shoulder with Thomas, my husband. 3 weeks ago, I buried him. Thomas and I had been married since 1981. Together we built everything: this orchard, this home, this family. And yet, the morning after his funeral, I realized that maybe I hadn't created what I thought I had. Or maybe it simply wasn't strong enough to hold on to my children. Thomas died of pancreatic cancer. 14 long months of watching a man of the earth decline, day by day. His strength, stolen piece by piece. One night, when the morphine had thickened his voice, he whispered, "Don't tell the kids. Let them live their lives a little longer without the shadow." And because I cherished him, I agreed. But the truth is, I already knew. Our children, David and Sophia, had grown distant long before the illness. David, the eldest, pursued a relentless career in Boston's financial world. He hadn't been home more than a handful of weekends in over a decade. Sophia drifted from one failed wellness scheme to another, always funded by Thomas's savings, always in need of just one more loan. I hoped sorrow would bring them back to who we once were. That they would remember the orchard, the family dinners, the laughter echoing around this old table. But when they arrived for the funeral, I didn't see children grieving their father. I saw professionals calculating an inheritance. The night after the funeral, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the scarred wood of our dining table. I suggested we sort through Thomas's belongings together the next day. A small gesture, a mother's way of making space for memory. But they had other intentions. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the lace curtains Thomas and I had chosen 30 years earlier. I brewed coffee, the simple kind Thomas enjoyed, not the imported roast David had carried from Boston. When they came downstairs, they looked like they were heading to a corporate meeting, not a day of remembrance. David in a blazer, Sophia in a silk blouse, her hair polished into curls. David cleared his throat. "Mom, we've been talking." Sophia glanced at him, then at me. "We think it's time to start settling things. The estate, the business, the house." The word settling landed like a door slamming shut. "It's practical," David said, placing his mug down with clinical precision. "You can't manage the orchard alone. And the house, it's too much for someone your age." My age. Those words pressed heavily against me. I had pruned trees in blizzards and under blazing sun. I had balanced payroll when we couldn't afford an assistant. I had baked pies for fundraisers, driven tractors through mud, delivered crates of apples to food banks. My age hadn't stopped me then. "We want you to be comfortable," Sophia added smoothly, her tone measured like a polished pitch. "There's a wonderful retirement community 2 hours south. Rosewood Estates, activities, friends your age." I rose to clear the dishes, hiding the tremor in my hands. Then David slid a folder across the table. "Dad spoke to me about this last year," he said. He wanted Claire and me to take over. The papers bore David's corporate letterhead. Thomas's signature looked steady, too perfect. It didn't resemble the unsteady scrawl of a man who hadn't written clearly in months. Not since the morphine. "This isn't from our family lawyer," I said. "He was clear-minded when he signed it," David insisted. "He wanted this," Sophia added quickly. "A fresh start. There's a developer interested, $7 million for the land. We'd be secure. You'd be cared for. $7 million. But all I heard was, a developer. They wanted to sell the orchard, erase it, replace decades of harvest and legacy with concrete and cul-de-sacs. "You're talking about selling your father's life's work," I said quietly. "Mom, be reasonable," David replied. "The orchard can't last forever." A deep fire stirred inside me, the same defiance I once felt when I chased a fox from the chicken coop. "Show me the will," I said. David hesitated, then nudged it closer. I didn't touch it. "I'm going to bed. We'll talk tomorrow." But deep down, I already knew there would be no tomorrow conversation. That night, I lay awake in the bed Thomas and I had shared for decades. The farmhouse groaned. The wind brushed the apple trees outside. Every sound was familiar. It was the silence in my children's hearts that had become foreign. By morning, the bitter scent of imported coffee drifted through the house. David's coffee, not Thomas's. When I came downstairs, they were already waiting. Coats on, suitcases packed. One of them, packed for me. "We thought we'd drive you to Rosewood today," Sophia said brightly. "Just to look. You don't have to decide yet." "I'm not going to a retirement community," I replied, pouring myself a cup. "Mom, be reasonable," David said, checking his watch. "The paperwork is finished. We close with the developers next week. You can't stay here." "I've lived here my entire adult life," I said calmly. "This is my home." "It's all of ours," David snapped. "Dad left the business to us. It's time you let go." I looked at him, and for the first time, I saw not the boy who once followed Thomas through the orchards, asking about bees and frost. I saw a stranger. "I need my medication," I said softly. "And I'd like to take some family photos." Sophia nodded, relieved. "Take whatever personal items you want. We'll ship the rest." But upstairs, I didn't cry. Instead, I reached behind the medicine cabinet, where Thomas had installed a hidden panel back in the 80s. I retrieved my passport and my birth certificate. From the closet, behind his old flannel shirts, I pulled out a fireproof box. Inside was the original deed to 20 acres of land, purchased in my maiden name, long before marriage, land with water rights, land essential to any future development. When I came back downstairs, my purse was heavier. "My heart lighter. Ready?" David asked. "Sure," I said. I let them believe I was broken. We drove past the orchard just beginning to bloom, past the elementary school where I had volunteered, past the library where I read to children. But instead of heading toward Rosewood, David turned onto a remote county road. 20 minutes later, he pulled onto a gravel shoulder. "This is where you get off, Mom," he said casually, as though pointing out a stoplight. Sophia's smile faltered. "David, what?" "She'll contest the will. She'll cause problems. This is cleaner. She has clothes, her medicine. There's a gas station 5 miles up." He opened my door. And just like that, they left me standing on the roadside. They thought they left me with nothing. But they were wrong. Because in my purse, I carried the deed, and in my heart, I carried something stronger than betrayal. I carried freedom. I began to walk. Not toward the gas station David had so generously mentioned, but toward town. Toward my next move. My flats weren't made for gravel roads, and the early spring sun warmed the back of my neck. With every aching step, though, my purpose solidified. In my purse was everything I needed. My ID, my passport, my medication, and most importantly, the deed to 20 acres of prime orchard land. Land my children didn't even know existed. Land with the only natural water source on the property. Without it, there could be no irrigation. Without irrigation, there could be no orchard. And without the orchard, there could be no development. They thought they had cornered me, but they didn't understand the soil beneath their feet. They didn't understand legacy. I did. After nearly 2 hours of walking, my feet blistered and aching, I reached the edge of Willowbrook and the familiar sight of Miller's Gas and Grocery. It was small, old-fashioned, unchanged. A place where people still called each other by name, where the scent of fried chicken drifted from the deli before you even opened the door. I sat on the bench outside, watching cars pull in and out. I looked like nothing more than a weary old woman with a suitcase. But in my hands, I carried leverage. Ray Miller stepped out, wiping his hands on an apron. "Mrs. Whitfield?" He asked gently, his brow furrowed. "You all right? You look pale." "Just resting, Ray. Been a long day," I said. His eyes shifted to the suitcase, then back to me, softened now. "I'm real sorry about Thomas." "He was a good man," I nodded. Yes, he was." He hesitated. Then I asked, "Ray, could I use the phone?" Inside, past shelves of canned peaches and discount cereal, he led me to a small office in the back. I dialed the number from memory. "Harold Jennings, our family lawyer," he answered on the first ring. "Margaret? I've been trying to reach you. I expected you at the will reading." My grip tightened on the receiver. "What reading?" There was silence. Then Harold's voice lowered. "David presented a will." I had doubts. "It didn't match the file your husband and I updated last year." "I need your help," I said, my voice steady. "And your discretion. You have both. My office, 1 hour." Harold's office was on the second floor of a creaky old Victorian across from the library. His secretary, Helen, gasped softly when she saw me. "Mrs. Whitfield, oh, come in. Can I get you water, coffee?" "I'm fine. Thank you." Harold met me at the door, his eyes sharp. He didn't guide me to the desk. Instead, he pulled 2 leather chairs near the window and sat across from me. "Tell me everything." So I did. I told him about the funeral, the forged will, the cold conversation in my kitchen, the roadside abandonment. Every detail. He didn't interrupt. He just listened, his jaw set, his knuckles white against the armrest. When I finished, I pulled the fireproof box from my purse. From it, I removed the original deed to the 20 acres. Harold examined it carefully. This is gold. Not just land, leverage. With the water rights and zoning, they can't touch the development without this." "I know." He leaned back, tapping the edge of the deed. "The will David submitted. It's a forgery. I suspected as much. The signature was too neat, too clean for a man under hospice care. We'll challenge it. That takes time. But meanwhile, we use this." He held up the deed. "You still own the most vital piece. They can't move forward without your consent." "I want my home back," I said quietly, "and I want them to understand what they've done." "Then we'll make them understand," Harold promised. By noon the next day, Harold had filed an emergency injunction to freeze any transfer of ownership tied to Willowbrook Orchards. Within hours, the developer was notified. Their lawyers realized the deal was flawed. The water rights were missing. The land incomplete. They began to retreat, quickly. That evening, I received a text from Sophia. "Mom, please call me. We need to talk. David's panicking. We didn't know about the other land. Can we just fix this? Fix this. No apology, no regret. Just fear of lost money." Later that night, David called Harold directly, demanding explanations. Trying to reassert control, Harold replied calmly, all matters would now go through legal channels. "They're realizing they miscalculated badly," Harold said afterward. "They thought I had nothing left," I answered. "But I had everything they forgot to value." In the weeks that followed, I didn't return to the old farmhouse. Instead, I rented a modest apartment above the Willowbrook bakery. It had a small balcony, just large enough for a rocking chair and a few pots of herbs. Each morning, the smell of cinnamon rolls rose through the floorboards. It wasn't the home Thomas and I had built, but it was mine, and that mattered. I began teaching again. Quilting on Wednesday nights at the community center, weekend workshops at the library on organic gardening. Teenagers came, retirees came, young couples hoping to start their own farms. I spoke softly but with history in my hands. People listened. Eventually, I donated the water rights to the Willowbrook Agricultural Cooperative, ensuring they would remain in community hands forever. Young farmers would use them, care for the land, nurture the trees. That was the future Thomas would have wanted. David and Sophia kept their distance. I heard whispers. The developer withdrew completely. The forged will was challenged, their reputations tarnished. But I didn't gloat. I didn't need revenge. The orchard remained untouched, blossoming each spring as it always had. Every time I passed by, I smiled. Not with bitterness, but with quiet strength. They had underestimated me, but I had finally remembered who I was. I often think back to that gravel roadside, standing alone with a suitcase I didn't pack, watching my own children drive away. It should have broken me, but it didn't. Because in that silence, I discovered the truth. Love is not blind loyalty, and being a mother does not mean tolerating betrayal. David and Sophia believed they could erase me, that because I was older, grieving, and alone, I wouldn't fight back. But they forgot. Before I was a wife. Before I was a mother. Before I was a widow. I was Margaret Elise, a woman who built something with her hands, her heart, and her mind. And I never needed to scream. To be strong. If you are listening to this, and you've ever been cast aside, underestimated, or treated like a footnote in your own life, hear me now. Your strength is not in how loud you fight. It's in how firmly you know what you stand for. And when you stand your ground, even quietly, it echoes louder than any betrayal. My orchard still stands. My name is still on the deed. And my life. It is mine again. So to anyone who's ever been told this is where you get off, I say, walk if you must, but don't leave your worth behind. Walk with purpose. Walk with quiet power. And when you are ready, tell your story, because it just might save someone else.